श्रीगुरुभ्यो नमः। वक्रतुण्डमहाकाय सूर्यकोटिसमप्रभा निर्विघ्नं कुरु मे देव सर्वकार्येषु सर्वदा। गुरुर्ब्रह्मा गुरुर्विष्णु गुरुर्देवो महेश्वरः गुरुः साक्षात् परं ब्रह्म तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः। गुरवे सर्वलोकानां विषये गुरोगणामधिः सर्वविद्यानां श्रीदक्षिणामूर्तये नमः। नारायणं नमस्कृत्य नरं चैव नरोत्तमं देवीं सरस्वतीं व्यासं ततो जयमुदीरयेत्। नमो धर्माय महते नमः कृष्णाय वेदसे ब्राह्मणेभ्यो नमस्कृत्य धर्म्यान् वक्ष्यामि शाश्वतां। नमो भगवते तस्मै व्यासाय तदेशस्य प्रसादात् वक्ष्यामि नारायणकथामिमां। श्रुतिस्मृतिपुराणानाम् आलयं करुणालयं नमामि भगवत्पादं शङ्करं लोकशङ्करम्. So when Drona was battling, so he killed 20,000 Panchala warriors. He killed in that battle, having those 20,000 chariot riders, those Rathis. He killed Panchala warriors, and then he cut off with broad-headed arrow head of Vasudhana. And then once more he killed 500 Matsyas and 6,000 elephants, and killed 10,000 horses in that battle. So again, he was using Brahmastra and divine weapons against those Panchala warriors who were not aware of those divine weapons. So that is against the Dharma. Like this, he started battling. When he was battling like that, Rishis Vishwamitra, Jamadagni, Bharadwaja, Gautama, Vasishta, Kashyapa, Atri, Shikata, Prishni, Gargya, Valakilyas, Marichi, Bhrigu, Angirasas, and various other rishis, they assembled. They all came there. With Agni himself, they came there. And all of them addressed Drona. They said that you are fighting unrighteously. You are fighting using adharmic. You are not following the dharma and dharmic battle here. You are fighting unrighteously. The hour of your death has come. So, laying aside your weapons in this battle, O Drona, see us stationed here. So, stop for a minute and look at us. After this, you should not do this kind of such an exceedingly cruel actions in this battlefield. You are very much versed in the Vedas and their branches, Veda, Vedangas. You are very much versed. You are devoted to duties that are enjoined with truth, especially you are a Brahmana. Such acts, what you are doing now, do not give you any merit. So that's why keep your weapons to the side, drive away this film of error that is shrouding you currently, your judgment, that covering your judgment, adhere to the eternal path, dharma path, adhere to that. The period for which you are to dwell in this world of this man is now over. So you have, with Brahma weapon, burnt men on the earth who are not acquainted with that weapons. So this act, what you have conducted in this battlefield, is not dharma. So that's why keep aside your weapons, win this battle without delay. Do not wait any longer on this earth. That's why don't continue in those kind of sinful actions. So like this, the rishis instruct Drona. Hearing those words from the rishis and also the words of Bhima, Drona, and also sees Dhristadhyumna in front of him, Drona becomes very much cheerless and burning with grief and exceedingly afflicted. He inquires to Yudhisthira on whether his son Ashwattama has been killed or not. Because Drona firmly believed that Yudhisthira would never speak an untruth, even for the sake of kingdom of 3 worlds. He will not speak untruth, because Bhima said that Ashwattama has been killed, but Drona did not believe, but he wanted to check and confirm that with Yudhisthira, thinking that Yudhisthira would never tell lies and he will always speak truth. And for this reason, Drona asked Yudhisthira and nobody else. And Drona had hoped that Yudhisthira would always tell truth, even from his infancy. Even when he was a child, Drona's expectation was Yudhisthira would always tell. And from then to today, he always expected Yudhisthira to be truthful, and that's why he went to Yudhisthira and asked. And at that time, Krishna, knowing that Drona was capable of killing all the Pandavas from this earth, he became very much distressed and he addresses Yudhisthira saying that if Drona fights angrily, even for half day, I will tell you truly that your army will be completely destroyed. There won't be anybody surviving on this army. And that's why you can save us from Drona. Under such circumstances, falsehood is better than telling the truth. If everything is going to be destroyed, then in that time, you can tell the false. You can tell a lie. By telling an untruth for saving a life, one is not touched by the sin. And there is no sin in untruth spoken to a woman in marriages and for saving the king and or for saving a Brahmana. Like this, Krishna advises Yudhishthira, saying that if you tell untruth now to Drona, it is not going to attach any sin to you. It is not going to be sinful. So when Govinda Krishna was saying that to Yudhishthira, Bhima addresses Yudhishthira and says that as soon as the means to which Drona can be killed was heard by me from Krishna, immediately I killed that elephant which was looking like the Indra's elephant itself, which was that elephant which was belonging to Indravarman of Malavas, which was standing there in your army. I killed that immediately. Then I went and told Drona that Ashwattama has been killed by me. Oh Brahmana, stop fighting. Like this I told already. And even when I told, Guru Drona did not believe in my words. He did not think that my words are true. And he did not believe that I am capable of killing Ashwattama. And that's why, desiring that victory, you are desiring this victory. So accept this advice from Krishna. Tell Drona that the Ashwattama has made the Drona's son Ashwattama is no more in this. So when you tell that, definitely Drona will stop fighting, and then you are one of the most reputed to be truthful in the three words. If we say that, Drona will definitely believe. So like this, Bhima also urges Yudhishthira to tell the untruth in that time. So hearing these words of Bhima and Krishna's counsel and owning also inevitability of that destiny, Yudhishthira made up his mind and to say what is desired, and fearing to utter untruth, but honestly desirous of victory, Yudhishthira distinctly said, Ashwattama dead, Hatha Kunjara. He says that, adding that word elephant after Ashwattama's name. So he says that Ashwattama no more, that elephant, like that he says. So that elephant part he says very mildly. So before this, if you remember, go back to Vana Parva, when the four Pandavas were going all the Tirtha Kshetras one after another, right? When Arjuna went to Swarga, to Indra's place, at that time, all the four Pandavas are going from Tirtha Kshetra one place to another. At that time, when they went to a Tirtha Kshetra called Ashwatirtha, after taking bath in that Ashwatirtha, all the sins of Yudhishthira were anything that he had from any previous birth completely wiped out. And from that point, we saw that his chariot used to move above the ground by four fingers. It never used to touch the earth. So he never touched the earth from that point onwards because he was such a superior state. He was kind of floating on the earth. Even though he looked like he was walking, he was never touched the earth by four finger distances. But by saying this to Drona that Ashwattama has been killed, that chariot, however, now it came back to earth. And after he said that untruth, the vehicle, the animals, his chariot, his horses, everything, those touched the earth again. So hearing those like this, so even though Krishna said there won't be any sin here, so there is Dharma Shastras and Shastras, everything says that we should always tell truth. And there are certain circumstances where you can tell untruth. Okay, so those circumstances are, for example, when you are speaking to an woman. Woman in the sense, not every woman, to your wife. Okay. So, for example, and that too in private. Okay, not in public. So, for example, if one is with his wife and he has to say, "You look very beautiful." Okay, even though he may know that she's not such a beautiful person, he married her. Now he has to say she's very beautiful. Okay, or you're very whatever. Okay, all the praising things he tells to one tells their wife or husband, for example. Okay, in private, those things could be a lie. And again, those things that said in the marriages, for example, you're not always going to say, "My son is like that, my son is a gambler, my son is a drink addict, my son is a alcoholic," or whatever. You're not going to say all those things. You're saying, My son is the best son in this entire world. My daughter is such a good daughter. She cooks so well. All she knows is actually, in reality, all she knows is how to make Maggie noodles. Okay, that's all she knows. But you tell that my daughter is a very good cook. She bakes breakfast every morning. All she makes is a toast. But you tell those kind of things. Okay. When marriage is on the line, you say that those kind of things. So that's when again no sin attached. And then the sin when one can tell the truth is if it saves the king and kingdom. Okay, if something is somebody is attacking about to attack the king or kingdom, and you tell untruth in those times, that's acceptable. And then the next one is you can't tell it untruth if it is going to save brahmana or a cow. Okay, so in those instances as well, one can tell truth. And the last one is again if it saves your own life. If your life is in danger, then you can tell untruth. If by telling truth, if your life is going to be put at danger, then you can tell untruth. So Yudhisthira is effectively Krishna saying that you can't tell untruth because if you don't tell the untruth here, Drona is going to destroy all of you within half a day. He is going to destroy all of you because he is in that state now. He is in that mental state. So to save your life, tell untruth. But even then, what he does here, because Yudhishthira tells untruth or not tell the actual fact that he actually killed, he was talking about the elephant and not Ashwattama itself, because it is untruth, and ultimately he's telling that untruth, his guru and a Brahmana. For all these reasons, Yudhishthira incurs the sin here, and because of that, his chariot and his horse, everything, start touching the ground. Okay. So that's why. So Drona, hearing these words from Yudhishthira, he now believes that his son Ashwattama has been killed, and with grief for death of his son, he became very much under the influence of despair. He became very much worried, and also recollecting the words of those rishis who came and told him to stop this battle, to stop his fighting. He regarded himself as a great offender against these great Pandavas. He thought he committed a huge sin by going against these Pandavas, and even the rishis, those of Devaloka, those rishis who came there, Brahma rishis came and told him that he was doing wrong. At that time, he became very much cheerless. And then he also saw Dhristadhyumna, who is very much near in front of him now. He became very much cheerless, and seeing Dhristadhyumna there, Drona, with great anxiety, almost deprived of his senses by grief, Dhristadhyumna was there, rushing towards him, and he seized him. And when that Drona, again, this Dhristadhyumna, if you remember, he was obtained by Drupada in a great sacrifice from Agni himself for with the desire of killing Drona. And now he took up the victory giving, that Dhristadhyumna took up a victory giving a very strong bow, and he fixed an arrow, a great arrow on top of that bow, in that bow, and then he was ready to release that arrow. And when he was ready to release that arrow towards Drona, everybody thought, okay, Drona is going to be killed by Dhristadhyumna now, and everybody started worrying. All the Kuru soldiers, everybody surrounding Drona, they started worrying, and they started, okay, Drona is going to be killed now. And when he was thinking like that, Drona prepared to care and still resist Dhristadhyumna in that battlefield. He started thinking about all those celestial weapons he had in his mind, all those mantras he started chanting, but none of those weapons came in his hand. So again, this is again important. Why it did not come? There are a couple of reasons. One, he committed so much sins now, using those divine weapons against Panchala warriors who did not know this. So those kind of sins Drona committed, and that's why it did not come. Second thing is he's mentally now kind of unstable. He's afflicted by grief and anxiety and things like that. Then the mantras, even though you are chanting in your mouth, it does not give any result. That's why when we say that when you're doing japa, puja, and things like that, focus, mind should be concentrated on that place. So similarly here, Drona, that concentration is lost now. Even though he's chanting the same mantras, those divine weapons did not come to him. They did not appear before him when he said, okay, I want, as Dhristadhyumna was releasing that arrow, he started thinking about all these divine weapons to protect himself, but none of those weapons came. And his weapons were not exhausted, even though he shot them for 4.5 days, 4 days and one night continuously. He released those weapons, such weapons did not expire. But when on this fifth day, about third part of the day was completed, at that time his weapons stopped coming, arriving to us at his bidding. So again, we are looking third part of the day finished. So that's about 10, 11 o'clock, just before noon. We are talking about now. So on the fifth day, on the 15th day of this battlefield. So that's when Dhristadhyumna is now about to release this arrow. Seeing his arrows like that exhausted and those divine weapons are not coming through, those weapons not appearing, he decided to give up on his weapons, and as requested by the rishis. Even though filled with great energy, he could not, however, again fight as before. Taking up another bow, which was given to him by Angirasa Rishi himself previously, he takes that and certain number of arrows. He continued to fight with Dhristadhyumna. He covered Dhristadhyumna with a thick shower of arrows, again normal arrows this time, not divine celestial weapons. Those things are not coming. He covered him with a large number of arrows, and with his own sharp arrows, he cuts off 100 fragments that bow that Dhristadhyumna took to kill Drona. And then he kills the driver, charioteer of Dhristadhyumna. Then Dhristadhyumna smilingly he takes up another bow and he strikes at Drona in the center of his chest. Pierced with that, Drona once again with a sharp broad-headed arrow cuts off Dhristadhyumna's bow. Dhristadhyumna takes up another bow and then Drona cuts off. Like this, every bow that Dhristadhyumna takes up, Drona cuts off, and then Dhristadhyumna was left with nothing except a mace and a sword. So he then takes up Drona then angrily he pierces Dhristadhyumna with 9 sharp arrows. So then Dhristadhyumna, at that time, he invokes Brahmastra. He invokes Brahma weapon, and with that, he at that time he also makes sure that he moves his horses so close to Drona's chariot and horses that he makes that those two chariots and horses gets mingled each other, and then both of them could not move. The red and the ones of the pigeon colors, they were mangled together, those two, and like this they mangled together and they could not move. Both the chariots now could not move because Dhristadhyumna did not want Drona to move any further. So then Drona cuts off the shaft joints, the wheel joints, and other joints of the chariot of Dhristadhyumna. So now Dhristadhyumna, who is deprived of the bow, who is made been chariotless, whose steeds, horses could not move because they are tangled now with Drona's horses. whose charioteer has been killed, that Dhristadhyumna, now falling into great distress, he takes up the mace. Remember, he had only mace and a sword left with him, and all the other weapons have been exhausted now by Drona. So Drona then, by means of sharp arrows, he cuts off that mace as well, and it was on which was Dhristadhyumna was about to hurl at Drona. And seeing his mace cut off by Drona's arrows, that Dhristadhyumna takes up the only last remaining weapon, his sword. He takes that with a shield, and he was determined to make the end of Drona, kill Drona in that battlefield. So he was moving in that battlefield. Dhristadhyumna very much with a desire of achieving his great achievement, Drona's death in that battlefield. He hoped to pierce Drona's chest with that sword, and sometimes he stayed under the chariot, sometimes under the bellies of Drona's horses. Like this, he was moving around because remember his chariot has been broken. He got only sword and a shield, and he is now protecting himself. But at the same time, he was trying to advance towards Drona from his chariot to Drona's chariot. So the movement again that he made in that time was great. Drona found no opportunity to strike him, and the movement of both Drona and Dhristadhyumna in that battlefield was like two hawks fighting each other for a piece of meat. Then Drona strikes those white horses of Dhristadhyumna, but not striking his own red horses. So when Dhristadhyumna's horses were killed like that, then Dhristadhyumna falls down from the chariot, and Drona's horses, red horses, freed from that entanglement. He could move now. Drona could move from one place to another. His chariot is now released from that entanglement. So when Dhristadhyumna was deprived of his chariot, he, with that sword in his hand, he jumped towards Drona like Garuda swooping towards a snake. Then Dhristadhyumna at that time, with the desire of killing Drona, he looked like Mahavishnu himself as he was jumping. Vishnu was jumping towards Hiranyakashipu. At the cry of Prahlada, as Vishnu was jumping towards Hiranyakashipu, just like that, Dhristadhyumna was jumping towards Drona. He performed various evolutions, various movements, and in that battlefield, moving around, he is exhibiting well-known 21 different types of motions. He protected himself and moved towards Drona, armed with sword and a shield in his hand. Dhristadhyumna wheeled about. He whirled with his sword on high, made side thrust. He rushed forward. He ran sideways. He leapt high. He assailed on the flanks of Drona, and he receded backwards. He closed with his enemies and pressed them hard, and like this he made various moves, again evolutions known as in the battlefield known as the Bharata, Kaushika, Shatwata, and various other moves evolutions he did in that battlefield. Seeing those movements of Dhristadhyumna, who moved in that battlefield with a sword and a shield in his hand, the warriors and the devatas, everyone assembled there, they wondered. And then Drona, shooting 1,000 arrows thick, cut off that sword and shield of Dhristadhyumna. Now Dhristadhyumna, without any weapon, he was fighting again. He was trying to reach Drona and have a battle with him. Again, Drona in that battlefield, at that time, he was using very short arrows, and those arrows again were used only in the time when you're fighting your enemy were at a very close distance, and only Kripa, Arjuna, Ashwattama, Karna, Pradyumna, Satyaki, and Abhimanyu were aware of using such arrows. Everybody is using the standard length arrows, but these ones are very short length, and those ones, because your bow is very long, right? If you pull it up, the strong short arrows, it's not going to stretch from bow to your string. So in the same bow, you have to release the short arrows as well as large arrows. Then you need to be skilled. So only Kripa, Drona, Ashwattama, Arjuna, Karna, Pradyumna, and Satyaki, Abhimanyu, these were the only experts in that. Nobody else knew such an usage of such arrows. Drona, desiring to kill his disciple Dhristadhyumna in that, who was like his own son. He fixed an arrow on his bow and he releases that, but Satyaki cuts off that arrow which was coursing towards Dhristadhyumna, who did not have any weapons in his hand at that time. Then Arjuna and Krishna, seeing Satyaki displaying great battle there, great strength there, they said, excellent, excellent. And on the other side, again, Karna, Kripa, they were also trying to come towards Drona to rescue him. But Satyaki alone was resisting. Seeing this, Arjuna addresses Krishna and he says that, look at this Madhu, the one who come from the Madhuras, this Shini's grandson Satyaki is battling there, alone moving in this battlefield. He is resisting all those all those Kaurava warriors coming towards Drona. So again, if you remember, Bhima, Nakula, Sahadeva gave this idea that if we separate Drona from everybody else, Drona, it becomes easier for us to kill, right? So that's what they are doing. So Satyaki is resisting everybody, Drona, Duryodhana, Karna, Kripa, everybody coming there towards that sun. So seeing Satyaki's achievements like that, Duryodhana and others, angrily, they quickly surrounded Satyaki, Kripa, Karna, all of them quickly approaching Satyaki, they began to strike him with sharp arrows. Then Yudhisthira sends, and the other Pandavas, Nakula, Sahadeva, Bhima, all of them rush towards Satyaki to protect him. Karna and others, Duryodhana and others, they all resisted Satyaki from his weapons. So like this, the battle continued. And at that time again, Yudhishthira addresses all the Panchala warriors saying that Satyaki is protecting. You all rush towards Drona and kill him. Time has come to kill Drona. So when he addresses like that, all the Panchala warriors, they rush towards Drona with the aim of killing him. The Drona in that time quickly rushed against all those advancing towards him. When Drona again proceeded like that, entire earth trembled because of his movements. Drona, even though he was still with grief and anxiety of the death of his son, he seems to be very much now loss of his energy. His left eye and left hand started twitching. And seeing Dhristadhyumna again before him, and remembering the words of rishis about leaving this earth for heaven, he became very much cheerless. He then decided to give up fighting fairly and encompassed on all the sides by Drupada's son, Dhristadhyumna. Drona began to move in that battlefield, consuming large number of Kshatriyas. He killed 24,000 Kshatriyas in that battlefield, and then 10,000 times 10, so that is, he killed 100,000 of those with his arrows, including elephants and horses and things like that. They killed that in that battlefield with the Brahma weapon he was using previously. And then Bhima, seeing Dhristadhyumna without any chariot and very near to Drona, he asks him that to jump on his chariot. So like this, he takes Dhristadhyumna, and Dhristadhyumna then taking a new bow, and then he covers Drona with large number of arrows. So Dhristadhyumna starts fighting. He starts fighting the Vasati, Shibis, Balikas, Kurus, and various other soldiers who were protecting Drona. He cuts off them, and then Drona, but once more cuts off Dhristadhyumna's bow and strikes him very much. Dhristadhyumna feels great pain from that. Then Bhima, angrily holding Drona's chariot, slowly tells him once more. He tells him that you are the wretch among the Brahmanas here, not following your own dharma, your own whatever duties assigned to Brahmanas. You are coming here for doing the Kshatriyas, what Kshatriyas should be doing. You are doing that, and that's because of and through that you are killing a large number of people. Ahimsa, abstention from injury to all the creatures, is the highest of the dharmas, and Brahmanas are root of that dharma. And regarding yourself again as the foremost of persons who know that Brahmana dharma, considering that you killing all these people here who are doing their own Kshatriya duty, you are killing here for the sake of your son. And to keep your son happy, you joined this Kshatriya's duty. Because if you remember, go back to Adi Parva again, Drona comes to Hastinapura because he wanted cow and to feed Ashwattama, right? And then he became the gurus of the Pandavas and Kauravas and things like that in Hastinapura and started teaching all the Kshatriyas and kind of started becoming earning by serving the king, right? He started all this and now he's in the battlefield because he's served that king, so Dhritarashtra. So he did all this because of his son, and Bhima shames him, saying that you did all this and this battlefield, you're killing so many thousands here because of your son, but your son is already dead and he's already gone back. Yudhisthira himself has told you this, that he has been killed, he's already dead. So like this, Bhima reminds Drona that his son has been killed. So when Bhima addresses like that, Drona keeps his bow to the side and desiring to leave all his weapons to the side. Drona, who cries very loudly, saying that, "O Karna, O Kripa, O Duryodhana, I will tell you repeatedly, exert yourself carefully in this battle. Let no injury happen to you from the Pandavas. As regards to myself, I am laying aside my weapons." So then, saying that, he began to loudly call out Ashwattama's name, "Oh Ashwattama, Ashwattama," like this, he cries loudly. And then laying his weapons to the side in that battlefield, sitting down on the terrace of his chariot, he devoted himself to yoga. He takes the practice of yoga. Yoga is not like these days you go to yoga session and do this and that, pushing legs up and all those kind of stretching the body. It is not that yoga. Here he is thinking about jnana yoga. So he is thinking about that Paramatma. Okay, nothing else. And he is completely renouncing everything on this world. So he assured all the creatures, uh, uh, dispelling their fears, he assured all of the creatures, so that means no harm could come from him. And seeing that opportunity, when he goes into that kind of meditation state, so that is actually yoga, not the stretching. So Dhristadhyumna mustered all his energy, jumping down from his chariot, taking a form that his bow and arrow he fixed on that bowstring. He took up, keeping that to the one side, the bow and arrow. He takes up a sword and jumping down that from chariot, he rushes towards Drona because you remember he is on Bhima's chariot now. He jumps down from that, and at that time, seeing all the warriors there, they started saying, "Oh, oh, Dhristadhyumna, don't do this." And as Drona himself abandoning all his weapons, he was then in a supreme tranquil state, having said again the words devoted to himself, having said those words that he is going to stop this battling, he is going to keep his weapons aside. He devoted himself to the yoga. He was very tranquil in his mind. He has fixed his heart on that Paramatma, the ancient being, Vishnu. He fixed his heart on Vishnu, and then bending his face slightly down and with heaving again his breast straight forward, closing his eyes, resting on purely on the Sattva Guna, he disposing his heart on that contemplation of Brahman, Vishnu. He thinking about that Omkara and then representing himself, that Brahman, representing that Brahman, that Omkara, thinking about that, remembering the Supreme Brahman, the Paramatma, the Devatas, he's thinking about that. Drona, the Guru of Kurus and Pandavas, he left the body and his Jivatma, he left the body and he went to heaven. And when Drona proceeded like that, that means his Jiva proceeded from earth, he left this body and it proceeded towards heaven. So Sanjaya says that we could see two suns shining on the sky. in the firmament. So there one was Drona's Jiva going towards heaven, another one is the real sun. So like a blazing, it was very much blazing like a sun, that effulgence. Uh, then it disappeared. So Dhristadhyumna was unaware of that. He could not see all those things. And Drona, he thought Drona is in the yoga meditation state. So actually, Drona is now, actually, technically, the body is only remaining. His Atma is not that he's left the body, he's already dead. So Sanjay says that only myself, Arjuna, Ashwattama himself, and Krishna and Yudhisthira could see that Drona Atma leaving and going to heaven. We could see that, but Dhristadhyumna did not see that. So all the human beings were unconscious of the fact that Drona has attained that supreme region of Brahman, that region which is mysterious even to the Devatas. He attained that state, and when he attained that state again, Dhristadhyumna, even though everybody was crying and shouting at him, don't do this, don't do this, he looks at that lifeless Drona's head and he began to drag it. And with his sword, he loops off the head of that body from Drona's body. And having killed Drona, Dhristadhyumna, filled with great joy, he uttered a very great shout, whirling his sword everywhere. And then again, that dark colored body of Drona with white hair tied around his ears, and that old man of 85 years, Drona, Sanjay says, but was killed in that battlefield for your sake. Dhritarashtra, he was killed in that battlefield. So when Drona was died, he was 85-year-old. So Arjuna at that time, seeing Drona's head was cut off, he rushes and he tells Dhristadhyumna, "Oh Dhristadhyumna, bring Drona alive here. Bring Drona alive here. Do not kill him. Do not kill him." Like this, Arjuna starts shouting, but Dhristadhyumna did not listen. Arjuna, again, with very much pity, and he cried out. He cried towards Dhristadhyumna, "Don't do it, don't do it." But Dhristadhyumna still cut off the head of Drona. And covered with Drona's blood, Dhristadhyumna then jumped down from the chariot to the ground, looking upon the red sun. He then he looked very much exceedingly fierce, and Kaurava troops saw that Drona killed in that battlefield. Then Dhristadhyumna threw that head of Drona into the warriors of Kaurava army towards that direction. He threw that head of Drona. So then, seeing that, all the troops started running away from one direction. Meanwhile, again, Drona ascending in the skies, in the stellar path, he went, and the rishis, Vyasa himself, and Sanjay says that through the gift of that Vyasa, I could see him going to that region of Brahman. Drona reached that region, and I could see that he reached that region. And when Drona was killed like that here on the earth, Pandavas, Kauravas, Pandavas, Panchalas, all of them became very unhappy, and all of them started running away in great direction, in great speed. They started running away. The army broke up in various places. The array, everything that formed, destroyed. They did not know what to do. Many people were killed. And again, Kaurava warriors, again in particular, when Drona was killed like that, he was deprived of life, they started running away in all directions. They lost self-control. Searching for Drona's body among all those thousands of headless trunks in that, they could not find it. They were searching for Drona's body in that head, in that which Dhristadhyumna threw in that among all those warriors. Then again, Bhima, going to Dhristadhyumna, hugging him, he says that, "I will once more hug you when that Karna, Suta's son, Karna is killed in this battle, and also I will hug you one more time when Duryodhana himself is killed in this battlefield. I will hug you again." Like this, happily he hugs, and then Dhristadhyumna and Bhima happily they celebrate that victory. Bhima slaps his armpit in happily like this. They celebrate the destruction of slaying of this Vada of Drona. When Drona was killed, there was Kaurava troops were deprived of their troops leader. They all started running away. They trembled. They started running away, inspired with fear. They started running away in all directions with cheerless hearts. They started running away, just like when Daityas were running away when Hiranyaksha was killed in the olden days by Vishnu himself. So Duryodhana in that battlefield, he started with hunger and thirst, and he with his sun scorched. He became very much cheerless and started running away from that. Kauravas, all of them fled in all directions. Shakuni, seeing Drona killed, he ran with his own division. Karna, with his own division and his army, he ran away from that battlefield. Shalya, looking at that place, he fled away with his warriors and elephants division. He followed. Krupa also fled away, saying, "Alas, alas!" Ran away from there. Kritavarman ran away with Bojas, Kalingas, Arata, and Balika troops that were with him. He ran away. Uluka ran away with when Drona's body was cut off, head was cut off like that. Dushasana with large elephant division, he started running away from that place. And Vrishasena, Karna's son, he also ran away with 10,000 chariots and 3,000 elephants. He started moving away from that battlefield with his elephant division, horses, foot soldiers, and everybody. Duryodhana himself started running away along with remaining some Shaptakas who were Arjuna had not yet slaughtered. So Susharman as well, Trigartha, he started seeing Drona's death. He started running away. So like this, the Kaurava army ran away in all the directions. And as they were running away in all the directions, at that time, to approaching them towards the Pandavas and towards Drona, Dhristadhyumna, where they were battling, Ashwattama comes there and he says, "Why everybody is running? Why these everybody is running like this?" Ashwattama comes there and he started attacking the Shikandi, Prabhakaras, Panchalas, Chedis, Kaikiyas. He started attacking. And then he asks Duryodhana, saying, "Why everybody is running away from this battlefield? What is happening? Is there anything wrong happened here?" Like this he asks. And how Duryodhana responds and what Ashwattama learns from there, we'll look at next time when we gather. Thank you.